Greetings and namaste. This is Shiva, your friendly neighborhood online wellness and self-discovery coach based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. All right, now that we've kind of started this wellness journey in a sense that we're starting to explore the concept of wellness, we've looked at wellness versus fitness, hopefully. I'd like to take you to some more deeper dives. So the question for today is, or whenever you're watching this, you can always come back to this. What are your wellness beliefs? And where did they come from? What are your wellness beliefs and where did they come from? Now for me, I clearly remember my childhood. I was one of those fortunate ones to have had a really awesome childhood in the sense I was surrounded by loving people, whether it was my family, my friends, or just the community in general. I was in an environment that was safe, that was healthy in terms of, being pollution free for the most part, lots of greenery, lots of parks and trees, lots of opportunities to nourish myself both through food and through exercise. And so when I look back at my initial days, my concept of wellness was not really wellness. It was more one of physical strength, endurance, and dexterity. So some of my role models, if you can take a guess, were folks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I had a thing for strongmen, whether it was like Hercules or Conan the Barbarian or the Incredible Hulk. It was just like, wow, just look at that strength. That just like totally turned me on in so many ways. I also loved, sort of Spider-Man and his agility and dexterity and that type of thing. I mean, who doesn't love Superman? I love to fly, but at the same time, I have to recognize that maybe that was just my need at that time. When you're young and growing, you need to expend physical energy. You need to get in tune with their body. You need to know how to walk, how to run, how to play. Maybe you're doing a sport or something, and that's how I kind of look at it. But as I went through my life, and especially as I ran into some bumps in the road, which are inevitable, things like transitions, transitioning from one country to the other, things like getting into a new work routine from more of a study school routine, and then some of the more deeper losses like losing a family member. I lost my dad. He was yet in his 50s, so it was definitely not his time to go in ideal terms. In Ayurveda, they say they kind of take the lifespan to be 100 to 120 years. And so that gives you a clue as to how the ancients lived long, disease-free lives. One's just long lives, with the last 20 years being a really, slippery slope, sliding downhill. But it was a time of bringing together all of life's experiences into an even more beautiful phase of life, which was not as physical, but maybe more spiritual, which was not as exciting in terms of movement, but very exciting in terms of witnessing how things are changing and looking back and spreading the knowledge of what was learned in all those years past. But like I said, as I kind of went on through my journey, these bumps in the road, losing my dad, going through divorce after several years of marriage, the one thing I tell everyone is no one gets married wanting to get divorced, so it's not a thing, so don't hold it against the people, and let's try and understand, how, when, and why that happened, and bring it to bear in our life going forward. So at this point, of course, I do try to learn from those lessons, whether it's the downturns I took in my health, and not just my physical health because of some of these occurrences, also my emotional, spiritual, and intellectual health. But also, how can I turn things around. So, having 2 kids today, having a loving wife, and, thankfully having my mom by my side still. I'm an only child, so it really helps fill that cup for me. So, my later beliefs, and more so as I got into actively articulating them prior to my official coaching journey, if you will, became kind of twofold. One is living from the inside out. So I gotta honor who I am on the inside, what my core is, what picks me up, what feels right, what feels natural. And as I get more in tune with that inner nature, there's this dance I see happening with the inner world and the outer world, which brings me to the next principle that works for me, is living in harmony with the laws of nature. We're not really taught the laws of nature. I mean, physics might talk about gravity or Newton's laws of, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Some folks might go off into the quantum realm and try and understand, where Einstein was hoping to go, with a universal law of existence and things of that nature. But if you just look at these ancient sciences of yoga and Ayurveda, that's where they came from. And often the question gets asked, is yoga religion? And there's a little hesitance, both in terms of people who are religious today and people who are atheists or are like religion agnostic, that I don't want to get into any religious mumbo jumbo, or I don't want to have to switch sides, But that's not what yoga and Ayurveda is, they're about. They're basically, if you even study them a little or talk to someone who's been practicing them, you'll see that it's, there might be some surfacey things for some people, like deity worship, or, chanting, things of that nature. But at the core, what is chanting? It is harnessing. It's harnessing the sound energy, the vibrational energy that is present in all of life, all of creation. And science acknowledges that fact, that everything's a wave or particle. Everything's a vibration. So, you have to sort of be careful what lens you put on when you look at something. And the lens I normally put on is, how can this benefit me? How do I integrate this into my life? What value might this offer? What parts do I hang on to for now, and what parts do I not worry about for now? And take that journey one step at a time. So I'd love to hear what, that's just a little peek into my current belief system. And when I say current, I try to acknowledge the fact that I'm not there yet. This is a journey. And if I'm stuck on certain belief systems, that will, by definition, limit future possibility and growth. But enough about that. I would love to hear what your belief system is. Where do you think that came from? I mean, if it's something as simple as going to bed early and, early to bed, early to rise makes one healthy, wealthy, and wise, let's hear it, and how's that working? Is that something that's accessible, that's executable, that you're able to implement in your life, or is it a struggle given all the demands that are placed upon us externally mostly, and not necessarily defended to the extent where we could rise above those demands internally? You could maybe be, an all work and no play makes one dull, right? Makes Jack a dull boy, Jill a dull girl, whatever. Is that part of the belief system? And again, seems almost anachronistic in today's day and age, but I'd love to hear, what floats your wellness boat. All right, so on that note, I bid you adieu for today, and we will see you another time. Be well, stay well. Adios.